right, G-Money here, and I'm here with my good friend Patrick. How you doing?
I'm fine, man. And you?
Can't complain. So, what actually do we call it? Is it called a substation? Is it called a transformer house? What's the correct usage, a name for where we are?
What we are standing up in here right now is a substation. That's what it's called. Substation is basically an island outside of the power plant that distributes electricity to other areas. So basically, what the substation does, it receives electricity from the power plant and then takes that electricity and then distributes it to the neighboring areas, to transformers, what you just mentioned. So the substation is not a transformer station, but it just houses switch gears that can turn on and off electricity that feeds either incoming electricity or feeding outgoing electricity. And the outgoing electricity, outgoing cables, that they feed the transformer stations in the districts.
Now, how many of these substations do you have on the island?
We have right now we have 4 substations. One is on the Pond Island. This is Zega's Gut substation. Then we have 2 at the power plant and 1 in Mullet Bay.
And how many transformer houses do you guys have?
500 plus.
500?
500 plus transformer houses.
Now, this, what I see behind me, I see they have different labels: Pond Island, St. Peter's, Jose Lake Ballpark. So can you explain exactly what these do?
They are 2 incoming fields.
And
the 2 incoming fields are the transmission lines that come from the power plant to the switches here. There's a separation field. If you look good on this side, you see what they call VELD, L and R. That is a separation field. So in between R1 and R2, then you have, those are the incoming fields from the power plant. From there, we then distribute electricity, what you see here, back to Pond Island. So that is what we call an interconnection cable to Pond Island. And then you have the outgoing feelers, what you see here: Shell St. Peter's, Direction ICE, AFU bowling cable, and also Direction Belvedere. So these are all the switches. So if I say, for example, I want to switch out Belvedere, I go by the Belvedere switch and I just press that button and Belvedere is out of power.
The whole Belvedere?
The whole Belvedere is out of power. But you also have, for example, a cable going to ICE, but it doesn't only feed ICE, but it also feeds Zega's Gut and other districts that are in line with that on that cable. So you don't only have one transformer house on the cable; you have many transformer houses on those on several cables. So that's what you see the labels are.
Because you gave me a little tour downstairs of a basement. I even know I had a basement. And you have all these wires coming in and wires going out, and that, I guess, coming in from the power plant and then going out to the district.
So what you saw downstairs, the center cables that were coming in, the bigger cables, the thicker cables, what we call the 240 cables. Those are 240 aluminum single core cables that we bring the 12,600 volts to this substation. From here, we go with smaller cables to the transformer station. Those are the 150 millimeter aluminum cables, and they go to transformer, from transformer to transformer, and sometimes even make a ring. So what we call a ring is, so sometimes, for example, I'll just give you an example. The ICE cable is connected with the St. Peter's cable, for example, but it's not actually connected, but it's open. So there is no flow at a certain point of time in the grid. The cable is disconnected at one of the transformer houses. But you can close it and then you could continue. That's what you call a ring. So if, for example, there's a damage in between any other transformer, between 2 transformer houses, we can open up that, feed from a different direction, and people could still get power. But then we could repair the cable. So that's what we call a ring. Others are what we call outlopers. So that's the end point. So it only has one line going out and it doesn't have a ring. So those 2 scenarios we have.
Now, when it comes to transformer houses and these substations, a lot of times you guys, I see in the newspaper or on Facebook that you guys are doing repairs or this area. Funny today, somebody came in today and said, oh, electricity went off in my neighborhood. They said, oh, I went online and I saw that they were doing in Guana Bay today.
That is correct.
So could you explain that to us? Why?
So basically every, say, 5 years, we do maintenance on a transformer. because what you have sometimes corrosion buildup on the what we call the low voltage bus bars. They are exposed, they are open.
Okay.
So our environment is aggressive. So what happens is you get corrosion on the copper bars. So what we do is disconnect all the cables off the copper bars and polish the copper bars, and then reconnect all the cables back on. And also we do that with the transformer. So we take the transformer, we clean the transformer completely down, polish all the cable shoes and put them back. Because if you look, for example, in your car, sometimes you have some problems with your battery.
Of course.
And when you look at the battery, it has some
corrosion.
white. That is corrosion. So that corrosion now is cleaned up, and then the whole transformer house is either painted, if it needs painted on the inside, painted on the outside if you look good. Now, a lot of our transformers, we change the image of our transformers. It used to be just one color. Now we put the GB colors on it now. So we paint the outside. If we need to repair the doors, we repair the doors as well. And we do the high voltage switch gear as well. So we have contractors that help us out with the low voltage part and the transformer. And then we have our guys who are certified who does the cleaning of the high voltage switch gear. So there's two separate items, three rooms in one transformer. You have a transformer room, there is a low voltage room, and there's a high voltage room where these cables from this substation go into. And from that switch, there is a smaller cable that goes to the transformer. And from the transformer, there are low voltage cables going to the bus bar, the low voltage bus bar. So from the transformer, depending, of course, on the variation of the voltage, you can go from 12,600 volts or 12,300 volts, go to 127, 220, or to 460, 480, what we also have in our grid.
Okay, so because I was always seeing the newspaper sometimes on Facebook, scheduled maintenance, this area is going to be out. But you guys are really doing maintenance. You guys are really...
We are.
Because I would see it all the time. I was like, why is all this area going off? So that's what you guys are breaking it down to just...
Yeah, what we did is basically upgraded the maintenance part because it was a bit, we lagged on it a bit. And we said, no, listen, if we don't focus on the maintenance part right now, we would always have these outages, let me say, corrective outages. And we don't want corrective outages because that is unexpected outages. We would like to have planned, scheduled outages, like what we have right now with the maintenance part. The more you get maintenance on your equipment, the less it breaks down.
When it comes to underground, one thing about when we had Hurricane Irma, we kind of got back pretty fast. About how much percentage of our electricity on St. Martin is underground?
Well, okay, we have two types of two voltage range. We have the high voltage and we have the low voltage. Now for the high voltage section, we are right now 95% underground. Hopefully we must have 100% underground at the end of this year because we're doing from the Dutch funds that we got from the Netherlands. We are right now doing, together with NRVP, we are doing the phase 2 of the ERP1 project, and that will carry and get us to 100% high voltage underground. With the low voltage section, which is a lot more than the high voltage section, we are right now 80% underground and hopefully to get to about 90%. Why 90%? Because a lot of people ask me that same question, why 90%? 10% is problems with ears. So we have cables and overhead lines that go over people's properties, and a lot of times we don't get all the heirs to sign off and get approval.
You need permission to go underground.
We need to get that permission. And if you don't get it, you can't go underground. So we are stuck in certain areas with still some overhead lines. Hopefully we could push it to 5% more, so we're carrying it to 95%, so that we could be more resilient when hurricane comes. And I hope with this, after this, we could have, a lot of the heirs and the family members to come together and say, hey, listen, that we could help out GB and help them out with trying to allocate this piece of property for us to carry the cables underground so that they won't be impacted after or during the hurricane.
Do you get any families like, do what you got to do, you don't mind?
No, a lot of families actually come in.
Really?
They say, hey, listen, I'm willing to give a piece of property for a transformer station. I'm willing to give a piece of property for to run our cables, our water lines in. We do get that. And it's good to hear that people are still willing to do some of that. But others, sometimes you can't find the family members on the island. So then you have to go through the entire whole notary process and heirs and family tree. And that is very tedious.